In this week's episode of the Rogers McHugh YouTube video, I'm going to explain to you why recruitment is easy. Let's go! Welcome to this week's Rogers McHugh YouTube video. So in this week's episode, I'm going to explain why recruitment is easy. Recruitment's a process. In my opinion, it's quite an easy process. It's the people that complicate it. So I've put together a 5-stage tips sheet that I feel that if you follow this process, recruitment's relatively straightforward. So the first one, you've got to learn your niche. So suppose you need to break this down into two. You need to make sure that you've got a niche. So as a single recruiter, it's very difficult to be a generalist. As a business, we're a generalist. We do a bit of facilities management, we do construction, we do business support, but everybody within the business has their own specialisms. As a single recruiter, you need to have a niche. You need to be known for something, because it's then vitally important that you learn that niche, that you're a sponge, that you take it all in, that you're inquisitive about the niche that you work in. So as an example, I started in construction. And the minute I got into construction recruitment, every time I went past a building site, I was looking at who was doing the work. I was constantly trying to learn about the industry, having never done anything to do with construction previously. You've got to learn it. You've got to become a master of your niche. You know, a lot of people aren't going to like this, but the second one is you've got to pick up the phone. You've got to be prepared to pick up the phone and speak to people. I've constantly got the battle as a business owner, and I'm sure a lot of people do, that some people just don't want to pick the phone up when they get into recruitment, and it's a dying art in my opinion, and I accept that, you know, cold calling isn't the only way to win business. I 100% accept that. However, you've got to be prepared to pick up the phone. You've got to speak to people. You've got to get your name out there. It's the only way to learn your niche as well, by speaking to candidates and clients and absorbing the information that they're giving you. Without picking up the phone, it's very difficult. I was listening to a podcast actually this weekend where they were talking about the art of cold calling being dead, and the reason for that being that people have mobile, you know, kids growing up now, they've got mobile phones. They don't understand what it's like to have to go round to the friend's house, knock on the door and ask if the friend's in, or ring a landline to speak to somebody, and have to go through the gatekeeper, a parent, to speak to the friend or whoever it is they're ringing on the landline. Now it's just an instant communication, and they were citing that was the reason that the cold calling was a dying art, and I kind of buy into that, but absolutely. And I'm not just talking about cold calling there either. You know, picking up the phone to speak to candidates rather than doing things on WhatsApp and email. Yes, I accept there's a place for that, but it's very difficult to gain knowledge about the market that you work in, and if everything's done via WhatsApp or email, you've got to pick up the phone and you've got to speak to people. Moving on from that, and as I did say, cold calling isn't the only way that you can win business. Number 3 is building a brand. You've got to, in this day and age, build a brand, whether that be on LinkedIn or one of the social platforms. If you're on the phone, you're speaking one-to-one. If you're building a brand on LinkedIn and then you put posts out there, one to many, one to thousands, it puts you in a position where you start to become known within your niche for good service, having good candidates, having good jobs, and you can start at that point to pull opportunities or pull candidates towards you, whereas at the very start of your career you're pushing all the time, pushing for opportunities, pushing to try and find candidates. Whereas if you can start to build a brand, you're dragging people towards you, pulling the opportunities to you, you're pulling the candidates to you, you're pulling the work to you. Makes your job a million times easier. And it needs to be, you know, if you're constantly sharing constructive, informative content, people are going to be engaged, they're going to engage with you, they're going to your reach is going to go far and wide, and you'll speak to more and more people with every post, and it just makes, like I say, so much easier for the opportunities to be coming towards you, rather than you constantly going chasing new business all the time. And then following on from that, networking and meeting people. Again, you've got to get in front of people, you've got to sit down with people, you've got to see the whites of their eyes. You know, if you're working in a niche and a candidate that's maybe placeable further down the line, but you don't have a role for them right now, is speaking to you, there's nothing wrong whatsoever with having a coffee with them for 20 minutes and starting to forge that relationship, because then they'll pick up the phone to you once you do ring them when you've got an opportunity. They'll give you the information that you're looking for about the state of the market, your niche that you're in, the clients that you're potentially targeting. They might be able to recommend candidates to you as well. And on the flip side of that, with clients, it's so much easier to build relationships with people if you're face to face. And ultimately in recruitment, you want that repeat business. You want the relationships that are going to keep lasting, because if you've got to constantly go and chase new business all the time, it's tough. You need to get to a stage where work starts to come to you. And recruitment, I always liken it to a snowball. At the start, it's tiny. You're constantly trying to get opportunities. And as you roll the snowball and you build your relationships and you meet people, the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes easier to get opportunities and to build more money and to earn more money and to be more successful. And the last one, the fifth thing, the most important thing, consistency. If you aren't consistent in every aspect of your job, it will fall down. Recruitment is just about doing the basics, but doing them consistently. Making sure that you show up every day, making sure that you're speaking to candidates and clients and building your personal brand and meeting people and learning about your niche every day of the week, every week of the year, and you've got to do it consistently. There's no point posting once a year on LinkedIn, although some people would say that is quite consistent. There's no point posting 10 times this year on LinkedIn, getting nowhere, maybe posting once next year, getting nowhere but thinking, oh, I'll do it twice. It's got to be consistent effort every single day, every single week, in every aspect of your job. Because if you only ever speak to candidates, that's pointless, because you've got no jobs to place them in. If you only ever speak to candidates and you're constantly winning work, it's no good, because you've got no candidates with which to fill the jobs. Obviously here I'm talking about 360 recruiters. If you're a 180 and you're only doing candidate calls, then obviously I accept you don't want to be doing BD, and vice versa. If you're a sales consultant, you don't want to be speaking to candidates necessarily, but doing every aspect of your job every week of the year is the only way that you'll get success. So that's my simple 5-step guide to how to make recruitment easy. Like I say, recruitment is an easy process. If you follow the process, it's people that make it difficult. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, I'm going to do a handshake deal with you now, because we're trying to get the video out to more people. We're trying to increase the content that we're doing this year. We're trying to really raise our game, and we're looking at getting interviews in place as well at some point on the YouTube channel of some real movers and shakers in the recruitment world, so it'll really add value to you guys that are watching. However, they look at subscribers, they look at views, so we need to get them up in order to attract the best guests. And I'll say this, as a handshake deal, I will consistently put content out every week. If this is your first video, you're exempt from this. If you've watched more than one, go to the channel and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time that you come through. That'll push the videos out to more people. We'll get more people viewing it, and I'll be able to get better guests on the channel as we try and roll it out and get interviews on. So that's my handshake to you. I'll be here next week showing up. All you need to do now is go and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next week.